Thank you for putting that information in the chat for me. It looks like we're all over the place with why we're here, and I'm glad to see it. And hopefully we can answer some questions and help you all figure out what you need for your senior year at Crosstown. So we'll give everyone just one more minute to be safe, and then I promise we'll get started. I don't want to hold you too long, but I want to make sure that we're giving people time to get in. Awesome. Thanks for letting me know. How's the track team doing? I know I had students super excited about the track meet. Okay, y'all, I feel like that's awesome. Thank you so much. And how's the tennis team doing? I'm sorry, I didn't think about asking that because I just kind of forgot that. I don't know. How's our tennis team doing? Are they doing well also? That's great. It seems like we've had a very successful week in sports here at Crosstown this week with soccer and track and tennis as well. I love to hear it. Thank you. I've given everyone a little over 5 minutes to hop on. So if they're not here, we'll make sure that they can catch the recording, but thank you for joining us. My name is Nikki Wilks, and I'm an English teacher here at Crosstown High, and I'm really excited to be joining the senior team next year and being able to offer AP English Literature and Composition for you all, for those who are interested. I want this session to be pretty conversational in nature, so I have slides that hopefully you can see on the screen, but please feel free to interrupt me if you have questions. I do want it to be a conversation. I think that's best, especially because we're still trying to decide exactly what AP Lit at Crosstown is going to look like. So please just know that I want your input and I want to hear from you as much as I want to share information with you this evening. So you have some of these skills, or you will gain them if you choose to take AP Lit with us next year. Just they're ingrained in the Crosstown competencies and what your teachers have already offered you. So we're going to be focused in on reading closely and analyzing a range of literary texts. I will say, in case you didn't catch it from the title, it will be literature heavy, whereas I know junior year, if you've taken AP Lang, it's more informational text. Senior year with AP Lit will definitely have a literary focus. We're going to learn how to value and weigh evidence to make sure that we're incorporating it effectively and honestly in our writing and speaking. And then we're wanting to notice language choices. Language is intentional, whether we mean it to or not. And so being able to unpack the intentions behind those choices, I think, is really significant. And so we'll look at words and sentences and how those invoke feeling and meaning for us as readers and for consumers of literature. The skills you'll learn will focus the year on fiction, poetry, and drama from various periods and cultures. And you'll read these literary works and write essays to explain and support your analysis of them. So again, that reading text closely and drawing conclusions, looking at the techniques that authors are using to craft these works that we've come to know and love, developing an interpretation of a text. So you get to have an opinion, and as long as you can back it up with evidence, we can work with that. And then you'll have space to present your interpretation and make an argument for it. In writing is the focus of AP Lit when we think about the test, but I'm hoping that you'll also be able to do so when we are having class discussion and in some of the project work and other things that we do within the course. Helps if I go the right way. When I think about this class and when Crosstown leadership asked me about what would it mean to have AP Lit at Crosstown and how does that integrate within a project-based learning school, I thought a lot about this quotation from Dr. Rudine Sims Bishop. They say, books are sometimes windows, offering views of worlds that may be real or imagined, familiar or strange. These windows are also sliding glass doors, and readers have only to walk through in imagination to become part of whatever world has been created by the author. When lighting conditions are just right, however, a window can also be a mirror. Literature transforms human experience and reflects it back to us. And in that reflection, we can see our own lives and experiences as part of the larger human experience. Reading then becomes a means of self-affirmation, and readers often seek their mirrors in books. So yes, we're going to get you ready for an AP test, but more importantly, I hope that by the end of the year, you are able to find yourself in literature, find others in literature, and gain a greater sense of empathy because you've heard other stories and you have a more nuanced understanding of how those stories impact people or how they reflect people or how they may reflect you. So the overview of the class, this is going to seem really intimidating having it all on one slide, but there are essentially 9 units that make up the AP Literature course, and they cycle through delving a little bit deeper each time. So they go in the same kind of structure of short fiction. So think short stories or novellas even could fall into that category, poetry, and then longer fiction or drama. And each time we just delve a little bit deeper. So we start out looking at just how do we read these texts critically and understand each of those types of literature. And then the next wave, we're going to go and focus in a little bit more specifically on nuanced techniques that the author is using to develop character or plot or conflict. And then we just keep diving deeper until we finish the course. When I think about project work, I'm really excited about some things that Crosstown has in the works for your senior year. And so the first round of these units of study, we would focus on personal narratives so that you can connect it back to yourself and connect it towards preparing for the future in terms of college personal statements and things of that nature, getting a good idea of who you are and how you can use your understanding of someone else's craft to shape your own personal narratives. In the second wave through of these units of study, we would look at community narratives and how narratives can shape a community and help us understand community and influence community. And then the third wave through, we're going to think about what texts are actually common knowledge text for society and why are they common knowledge texts. So we have this canon of what we traditionally call like the old dead white men. Why is that our canon? And is that the best canon for people to be studying in schools and in literary circles? Or should we be rethinking what that looks like for us in order to promote wellness in society? So that's kind of a big, broad overview of what the class will look like. If you're here and you're wondering about the exam and how to get credit, the exam has a multiple choice section of 55 questions that you do in an hour, and they are broken into 5 sets. So you'll have a passage, 2 will be prose fiction, and 2 will be poetry passage. And each of those passages will have 8 to 13 questions. And then the 5th set, that 5th passage is up for grabs. It could be another prose, it could be a drama passage, it could be another poetry passage or something of that nature. And that's 45% of your test score. The second half of the test is free response, and it counts for 55%. And you get 3 questions and 2 hours to work your way through composing essays. One is a poetry analysis, The second is a prose fiction analysis. And the third, the one that is my favorite and is the coveted question to get if you're an AP reader, is the literary argument. And that's where you really get to bring your personality into the AP class, because they will give you a literary concept or idea, but you can use any text you've ever read essentially to highlight how you understand that literary concept or idea. And so this is, like I said, where you get to bring in your personality. If you love science fiction and you can connect science fiction to the literary concept or idea they've given you in that prompt, you could use that as your base for writing. If you love historical fiction, whatever it is, the sky's really the limit, because that last question is pretty broad to where you could connect it to a lot of different text. In terms of course expectations, summer work is not going to be too crazy, but there are a few things that I would like for us to do. The first one being setting up a Goodreads account. To be successful in this class, in my opinion, you either have to be a reader or you are someone who wants to become a reader. And so one way to do that is by tracking what you're reading and seeing where that may lead you. If I read this, what is going to be recommended to me next? Or what are my friends reading that I might be interested in? So we'll start there. You'll also have the opportunity to complete an independent reading project, and that's going to help me get to know you all, because you'll get to select a book. I'll ask what that book is, and so that I can just sign off on saying like, yes, this is worthy of AP Lit, or we may want to keep toying with what title you choose to read. And then you'll do a little bit of analysis work with that, so that, like I said, I can get to know who you are and what type of literature you like naturally, and then see how you do analysis work with the text that you've chosen that you're interested in. And then the last part of summer is that I would like for us to get together for a one day, and it wouldn't be a full day, but a day for us to get to know each other and set the culture and tone for our class, so that we can all have common expectations and we can hold each other accountable to those throughout the year. The hope, and I say hope because who knows what next year is going to hold. I mean, none of us expected for the past year and a half to be living in a pandemic, but my hope is that you will read 2 books per quarter at minimum. And that's to help make sure that you have a broad range of books to pull from for the AP test, and so that you're exposed to a broad range of text for your own personal development and well-being. I expect you to participate in and foster discussions and writing workshops with one another so that we can grow and sharpen each other's craft. I expect that you'll be able to work independently to meet deadlines. I want you to experiment and practice with your writing style and with literary theory and analysis. A lot of times students really want to know, well, what's the right answer? What's the right interpretation? And part of the beauty of this class is that, is there a right answer? Or can you defend? Can you make me think about a text differently? So I want you to play with that and stay curious and ask questions of myself, but also of your classmates. And then lastly, I want you to be developing and researching ideas, exploring why and how authors craft their writing a specific way, why critics examine text through the lens that they do, and how do authorities in the literary world curate canons? Is there a standard? Is there a basis for that? And is it okay, or does it need to be changed? Do we need to throw it off its course and suggest something different? That's where I'm hoping that we can go together next year. And so if you're wondering if this class is right for you, I would ask if you have a passion for getting lost in words, both in reading and in your own in writing. Are you curious about how and why some texts stick with us longer than others? Are you up for the challenge of expanding your understanding of yourself and the world? Because I think that's the biggest gift literature gives us. Do you want to engage with diverse thinkers who believe words and stories have the power to change the world? Or can you not imagine life without stories in it? And do you want to be a part of a community of other deep thinkers with a critical eye? If so, I think that this would be a great space for you. And so that is all I have for you about AP Lit. We've got some time. Does anyone have any questions that I can try to answer for you?
Are there any examples of text we'd be reading that you just magically know off the top of your head somehow?
Alex, that's a great question. I've been thinking a lot about what text we would read together. And I can't think of a specific text off the top of my head, Alex, but I can tell you what I told Mr. Dixon recently. And that is that I would love for us to read across the globe together. I think a lot of times we tend to read books that the teacher loves or that maybe the teacher was taught in their own schooling experience. And we miss out on a lot of perspectives that way. And so I would love for us to have a text from every continent. That's kind of a big goal I have for ourselves. But I am still working on curating the actual text list for us, because the other thing is I need to introduce you to some traditional text because that will show up on the AP exam, but I don't want this to be a class of just the dead white men. I don't want us just reading Shakespeare and those traditional canon texts that you probably would think of when you think of the class. So I'm sorry, Alex, that is one question I don't actually have an answer to yet because it's still a work in the making.
That's totally fine. I was just wondering.
Yeah. I can, Alex, if you will shoot me an email, I'll put my email in the chat for you because I forgot to put it on this slide. If you shoot me an email, I can send you a list of like general text that the AP College Board recommends for the course that will give you an idea of types of text. They won't be exactly what we're reading, but that might help give you an idea. Are there other questions that anyone has? We're a quiet bunch. Mr. Dixon, is there anything I left out that we need to share with them? And I'm going to drop the link to the parent commitment form in the chat here in just a second.
No, thank you, Ms. Wilks. You covered everything.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks, Mr. Dixon. Okay, I'm dropping the commitment form in the chat for everyone. So that'll take you to that form to complete. If you have questions, please let me know either now or students, if you're in building, you can come swing by. I am based in Base Camp 8 with the sophomores. So please feel free, if you're in building, you can swing by and ask questions. The goal is that you will have either attended like you are right now, or if you have friends that are interested, that they will watch the recording of this meeting and that you'll complete the form by the latest of May 3rd, which I believe is next Monday. I don't have my calendar in front of me, but I think that's correct. If there are no other questions, I'm going to stop our recording and you all are free to go. If you have something that you want to ask but didn't want to ask while others were here, you can hang back with me and I'll answer things.